I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
Hello, everyone. Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director of Louisiana Radio Network. Thanks for joining us on the Tiger Rag Radio Extra Podcast Championship Series of the College World Series edition, as we are broadcasting from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio, along with the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and Glenn Guilbeau, who is joining us from the Max Home Hotline in Omaha. What a win. What a game. Remarkable comeback for the LSU Tigers, down by 2 in the bottom of the ninth, and they are able to defeat the Arkansas Razorbacks 6-5. Second time they beat Arkansas this season in walk-off fashion, and this will be a game that LSU fans will never forget because of just how wild and crazy and intense and an emotional roller coaster throughout, really, especially in the second half of the game after Jake Brown came up with a clutch hit that really kind of set the wheels in motion for what was just an absolutely terrific finish for LSU fans. And an absolute meltdown by Arkansas in the field. Glenn, you were there in Charles Schwab Field. What was it like to watch it firsthand?
I mean, it was very dramatic and up and down, and I can just tell you a lot of the writers, were saying, oh, well, okay, I'm writing my fourth lead now. I'm writing my fifth lead, kept going back and forth. And in the ninth, when LSU made the first out, we were all talking about, what time, we were going to go out tomorrow for the game. And, I was starting to write the loss and all this, and then bam, they're back in the game. And, they've done it before. I mean, it's amazing how they've been able to come back in the ninth inning. People brought up the Tennessee game this year, but the team has a lot of guts. It's amazing. It's not over with them until you get them all the way out. And there they were with 2 outs too. They were 1 out away late, in that inning. So just a lot of drama and up and down. I mean, 4 lead changes in that game. It was an amazing game to watch, and it was very similar to the Wake Forest game 2 years ago, bottom of the 11th, Tommy White home run, a little more dramatic. But Jay brought up that game, and it's amazing. That is the 6th walk-off win by LSU in the World Series. On a walk-off hit, home run, single, double. 6 of them going back to Todd Walker in 1993.
So, Glenn, you brought up Tommy White and Jay and Johnson against Wake Forest in the 2023 with the walk-off home run. Jared Jones, I wonder if he did this on purpose or not, but when he got his walk-off single to drive in Hernandez, he lifted his hands just like Tommy White did going down first base. It was like deja vu. Did you get a chance to see if he did that on purpose or was it just impulse?
There was a lot of questions asked last night. Nobody asked that one. That would have been a good one. So he Tommy White had his arms out like an airplane as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing because I wrote about that in the Skip book because when Armando Rios tossed his helmet when they won the 93 national championship, Ryan Terrio tossed his helmet in very similar fashion. And Ryan said he wasn't thinking about it at the time, but he had seen so many highlights of Armando doing that. He thinks he kind of did it subconsciously. So that'll be a great question to ask Jared today or tomorrow if we get him.
Is it more that Arkansas just is cursed and just melted down last night, or is this the game of baseball, or is LSU just super resilient and just won't quit?
Well, I think LSU is definitely super resilient, and they just overcome, some of their issues they've had in the bullpen. They had some issues in the bullpen last night. And they overcome their lack of offense at times, and they come back and win. I mean, they were down 3-0 to Tennessee in the ninth. They won 6-3. They had, they only had 2 runs going into the 8th last night, so they were able to overcome that. Now, when I think of a meltdown, I think of a team with a big lead and blowing it all in the ninth, or maybe just a 3-0 lead and blowing it all in the ninth. But Arkansas came back 3 times in this game. At the end they lost it, but who knows if they'd have batted last, they might have won. So I wouldn't say it was a meltdown, but I definitely referred to Arkansas losing the World Series in 2018 in this game story, when they were an out away in the second game from winning that World Series, and they couldn't catch a pop-up, and then they lost that game, and then they lost the next night. So, and yeah, Dave Van Horn has been one of the best coaches in the country, but he hasn't won the World Series yet. So yeah, there's a little hex on him, and they are 0-4 against LSU in Omaha.
0-5.
Lost.
0-5.
No, they were 0-2 going in. I double checked that. So now they're 0-4, and they lost 4 of 5 to them this season.
Yep, and 2 walk-offs. As you guys know, you love poking fun at me as a Cubs fan. I believe in curses. Saints fans should believe in curses, and it sometimes take a special group of players to get beyond that and not fold under the pressure. And I honestly feel like Arkansas folded under the pressure. And it's not just the drop fly ball or the misplay of the fly ball or the not even turning the double play. There were 3 miscues in that inning. The first baseman going after that ball on Derek Curiel's hit to the right side. That's the second baseman's ball the whole way. And I just think when you have something like that happen, where you get a ground ball, and that should have been the second out of the inning with nobody on base, it starts creeping in. And I have no idea why he threw the third and not tried to get the double. I've watched 1,000, I don't know how many baseball games I've watched. I can't remember too many times, maybe once or twice on a ground ball to the shortstop that they go to third. You just never see that. So that to me,
how close was it? Did you watch the replay? How close?
It was. They would have had it would have been, if anything, it would have been a bang bang play. I mean, when that one replay that they had from beyond from the camera shot beyond left field wall, and when Alou fields the ground ball at short, you don't even see Milam in the background running down first base. He is still that. He is so much closer to home plate than first base. And it's just a bizarre play to do that. I'm even surprised that the Arkansas third baseman went back to the bag to get the force there. And the hit that Luis Hernandez gets for the left fielder, that is kind of a bit of a tough play because it's a line drive, it's sinking, the turf is the grass might be a little bit wet from the humidity. I get all that. But the 2 plays prior to that, especially the double play ball, is just, that's a meltdown to me. It's just, these are basic plays you got to make, and you don't make them.
Yeah, the left fielder, Charles Davalon, it looked like he kind of changed his mind as he was running toward the ball, like he thought he was going to let it lay up, and then he decided he was going to go for it. And I thought he had a chance for it, and then he slipped. And hit his shoulder and careened to the left field corner. I mean, that's Jesus, your snake bit.
Right.
But look at LSU. Just an inning before, Jared Jones drops that double play ball. They get out of there up. They would have got out of there up 2-1 still in the 8th without that. So they overcame a mistake too. But yeah, Arkansas looks hexed for sure. And the amazing thing is, LSU has never looked hexed in Omaha. They look charmed every time. Every time they get into the position, they work it out. There's been some World Series where they weren't there long, but it's not like they blew a game or anything.
No.
Every time they're in that game situation where you win or choke, they've always won. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And Hernandez's hit was traveling above 104 miles per hour on a line with spin. So, I mean, it wasn't an easy play, no matter how you look at it.
No, I agree.
And it's not an error. No way it's an error. That was a double.
All right. So, Jeff, why don't we take a quick break and then come back and talk about what's going to happen now moving forward? Lots of questions.
All right, Coastal Carolina's championship series beginning Saturday night. We'll break it down right after this.
Welcome to the Chevy Lightning Round. Guess the clues to win. First team, you're up.
Powerful, commanding, unstoppable.
Silverado.
Adventurous, fun, techie.
Trailblazer.
Stylish, nimble.
Trax.
Innovative, electric.
Blazer EV.
Lightning Round champions. You've guessed all the right Chevy clues.
Wherever the year takes you, explore it together in the Chevy of your choice. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
Welcome back to the Tiger Rag Radio Extra Podcast, the Championship Series edition of the College World Series. LSU and Coastal Carolina Saturday night at 6 o'clock. Glenn, you called this the last time a week ago. You had LSU and Coastal Carolina playing each other in the Championship Series. This Coastal Carolina team, I know people will say, hey, they're just a Sun Belt team, but they've won 26 in a row. They got 3 really good pitchers. They got the lowest ERA, second lowest ERA in the country, pitching wise.
Right.
And they figure out ways offensively. They're very much like LSU. They're not a team that's got a ton of power. I think, when we had Dave Schultz on, who is the host of the Sun Belt podcast, he says they don't have that dominant home run guy like LSU has with Jared Jones, but they just have guys to continually put pressure on you offensively. And I think the key for LSU is try to limit the walks. Don't hit them. I mean, they lead the country in hit batsmen, and I'm interested to see how good this Coastal Carolina offense can be against the likes of Kade Anderson and Anthony Eyanson.
Well, LSU has a much more powerful team home run wise than Coastal Carolina. LSU has 103 home runs, and Coastal Carolina just has 66. So this is really a small ball team. Coastal Carolina is number 2 in the nation in ERA at 3.20. LSU is number 9 at 3.80. Coastal Carolina is way up there in stolen bases. They got like 107. LSU's only got 61. But this is Jay Johnson likes to play small ball. That's his West Coast background, and this is the kind of game that kind of falls right into him. He's going to be into this. He's probably going to be working on his bunt defenses and God knows what. But the good thing for LSU is Coastal is mainly right-handed pitchers. They got a couple of lefties, but they're mainly right-handers. And boy, they got an ace, man. Jacob Morrison. He's 12-0, 2.08 ERA, 102 strikeouts, and they got a real closer in Ryan Lynch, another right-hander. He's got like 10 saves. He has a 0.58 ERA. So these guys can pitch, man. This is going to be, on paper, it looks like some real low-scoring games.
So what do we think it's going to come down to for LSU to win its 8th national championship and second in 4 years under Jay Johnson?
Well, I think, LSU is going to have to be flawless on defense. They're going to, walks will be multiplied in this series. And LSU has cut down on the walks in recent weeks, but they can't get into that stuff, and they can't hit batters, and they're just going to have to play real clean because that's how you win low-scoring games. And I think that's what they're going to need to do. And I think LSU, they'll probably, they'll probably get more home runs over the three games or 2 games than Coastal. But it's a great matchup. They're both really pitching strong. They have pitching depth, so it's going to be close.
Call me superstitious or call me just an idiot or whatever you want to call me, but I think having 26 wins going into a 3-game final series for the World Championship of college baseball is a disadvantage, not an advantage.
Well, I would say it's an advantage because it helps with confidence. I mean, everybody thinks LSU is extremely confident, and I agree, but Coastal's really confident too. But I'll say this: Coastal hasn't been in many close games. I mean, they didn't have a close game in Omaha yet, whereas LSU's used to a lot of these one-run games and just knuckle biters, so they might have a little more experience there, and LSU probably is more talented, but it's a classic matchup.
Would either of you guys, who would you take if it was your choice to open game one of this series? Would it be Kade Anderson or would it be Jacob Morrison?
I'm going with Kade Anderson. I mean, there was just a mock draft ESPN put up, and they got Kade Anderson as the number 1 overall pick. So I'm going with Kade Anderson, and he has already shown that he can pitch, and when you need him to give you a great outing, he's 9 out of 10 times he's going to give you a great outing.
Yeah, and he's going against better teams too. I mean, he's a little more battle tested than Jacob, I would say, since he's been through the SEC. But gosh, Jacob Morrison is a stud too. I thought you were going to ask who you go with, Kade Anderson or Anthony Eyanson. I thought where you were going, but everything just shapes up perfect for LSU and for Coastal Carolina. I mean, they got rest for Jacob Morrison. LSU got Kade Anderson his exact normal rest. Anthony Eyanson is actually going to be more rested because he only threw 49 pitches in his start.
Well, that's a good question. Do you think there is a question in Jay's mind about who to start in game one?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. Not at all. And I think Eyanson will start game 2. And I think you'll have, depending on how it goes, you may have Kaysen available in each game. But then, with the wrinkle of saving him for a possible game 3 start.
Well, we asked this question, one final question. We asked this question in the last podcast about who could be a difference maker. Now that we've seen some games played out, who do you think has got to be the difference maker? We'll start with you, Glenn.
Well, LSU's had a handful of difference makers as the season's going on. I mean, look at Luis Hernandez. Who would have predicted that he would be the guy last night? You could predict Jared Jones because he's done that quite a few times. Derek Curiel has been steady. Ethan Fry. I think LSU is going to continue to hit through most of the lineup, not all of the lineup, but they seem to get 5 or 6 guys and only have 1 or 2 struggling. Like Braswell is struggling right now, big time. Daniel Dickinson was struggling for a while. Chris Stanfield looked at a strike right down the middle, and then Jake Brown comes in and gets the pinch hit. I would say it's going to be the usual suspects: Jake Brown, Jared Jones, Luis Hernandez, and Ethan Fry, and Derek Curiel, and Steven Milam. That's a lot of guys.
Yeah, why don't you just say LSU? LSU's the X.
Well, yeah. Well, that's how they play. That's how they've been doing it, and and the thing is, Jared Jones struck out 5 times Saturday. They still won 4-1. So their guys can disappear here and there, and then somebody else steps up. It's really amazing.
My X factor is Jay Johnson.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I just think that he's more in tune with these tight, big, dramatic, potentially games. And Kevin Schnall is not accustomed to that, and I think Jay's more on top of it. And I think if it's close like we expect it to be, Jay Johnson is LSU's X factor.
All right.
My
Good
point is Kevin's in his first season too with Coastal Carolina.
So last week I had 2. I had Josh Pearson, and he may be limited in this championship series because Coastal is so right-handed heavy. So we might not see him. I mean, we're going to see Jake Brown over Josh Pearson. So I think Jake Brown seems just dialed in right now. He just absolutely seems dialed in, and he's been torching right-handed pitching. So I think he can have a really big championship series. And then the other guy I had going into it was Zach Cowan. And I think I asked this question because everything that happened last night people will remember, but what gets lost into it is the great start that Zach Cowan gave him. And that LSU would not have been in that position to win that game if he went out there and gave up 4 or 5 runs in the first few innings. I don't know if LSU's able to come back at that point, but he was terrific. Since I don't know how much of an impact he'll have here, I think we still have one more magic moment from Case and Evans coming in this championship series. So look for him to be pretty good. Well, that's going to do it for our Tiger Rag Radio Extra podcast. For Glenn Guilbeau out in Omaha, and you can continue to read all his stuff at TigerRag.com. Todd Horne, the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine. I'm Jeff Palermo. Enjoy the championship series, and we'll be back with you again here soon on the Tiger Rag Radio Extra podcast.
June is jumping at your East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Take part in the Summer Reading Challenge with incentives for kids, teens, and adults. They also have events galore for all ages, like Movies on the Plaza, the Cool Careers Summer Series, and so much more. Check out details online at ebrpl.com. That's ebrpl.com.